a presentation from our club, the TC Motoring Guild. We're going to be talking about MGTCs. Those of us in the guild know that everybody wants one. However, we've noticed that the membership in our club has been pretty constant. So obviously there are a lot of you out there that really have a desire for an MGTC, but perhaps don't know how to go about getting started in this wonderful hobby. This is our club by way of introduction. It's been a club dedicated to the MGTC for going on 50 years. And so we have a lot of people who know a whole lot about MGTCs, and we hope to be able to impart a little bit of information to you so that you can feel comfortable about joining us. We've decided to attempt a series of tapings at our club meetings. These will be discussions of topics that can help prospective owners to satisfy this lifelong longing they've had to be a TC owner, but just don't know where to start. In today's session, we're going to talk about that, about where to start looking, where to find a TC. And in following sessions, we're going to talk about various systems, aspects of the car, and give you some thoughts about repairing, restoring, and upgrading your MGTC. In this series, as I said, we're going to be taping at club meetings throughout the year. And so you'll see different people talking about different subjects, and you'll see the same people at different times. Will be dressed differently, hair will be longer, and so forth. But that's the reason it'll be an ongoing project. In this session, we will help you now that you really want to have an MGTC to start to find a suitable car that you can purchase and begin. Now, where do you start to look for a car? Well, traditionally, when I got my car, my first MGTC 30 some years ago, I looked in the newspapers. And in those days, you actually would find in the classified ads listings for MGTCs. Occasionally today, this still happens. There are other classified sources nowadays. One of the main ones being Hemmings Motor News, which you can find on newsstands, or many of you perhaps already subscribe to. And they will have listings frequently TCs. There are other similar, but not quite as extensive old car books, which occasionally will have a listing for MGTCs. And then there's the possibility of foreign purchase. These are often seen in magazines that come from overseas. The results of this have not always been satisfactory in our experience, but it's certainly a possibility. One reason for the decrease in the number of cars that can be found through these traditional sources is that nowadays there is something called a computer, and on this computer you have internet sites which deal with this, and primarily one of the big ones being eBay. The whole subject of computers is one where I'm sorely lacking, and I'm going to turn to our club president for this year, Dave Edgar, who has a very strong working knowledge of computers, and he can tell you about that subject.
I put my glasses on because I want to match everybody else up here. Dave over here mentioned that you can look on eBay. If you go on to www.ebay.com, and then type in, you're searching for MG space TC, you'll find all kinds of things. A lot of models are on there, parts, whole cars. You just gotta watch what you're buying there, because a lot of times people get carried away with the bidding on there, and you can actually pay more than you can get it through a catalog or something like that, so you gotta watch it. Other search things that you can do, you can go on to the search engines and look up Moss Motors, Hemmings, all kinds of links, and you can look up all your parts that way. There's also several not eBay, but websites devoted strictly to the TCs. There's one that's www.mg-tabc.org. And on there, there's several links for parts and suppliers, the technical section, literature. You can even join in their membership list and participate in their emails, get valuable information. A lot of people join that and then search out cars, put their word out that they're looking for something, and they get all kinds of responses from all over the world. Parts also. So take your search engines and just keep looking, and you'll find all kinds of stuff.
Thank you, Dave. If any of the foregoing hasn't provided you with leads on a suitable MGTC for purchase, there are other sources. One used source is to seek out the information of people who are in the area and who have knowledge of availability of cars because of club affiliations. Ask Pete Thielander, one of our members who is very active in several clubs, to speak to that.
I would strongly recommend that you establish contact with the club at the earliest opportunity, because you can pick up a lot of information about the cars in general, and before you actually have a car in hand. And you'll find that the MG clubs are very friendly and helpful. And again, if you go to the web and look up the MG Car Club, that's the parent club in England. They have a listing of centers all over the world and all over the country, and so that you can find a club in your area. They have they can be very helpful in local sources. So I would strongly recommend you don't be afraid to get into contact with the club before you've got a car. You'll find them very helpful in helping you find a car. So,
okay, well, thank you, Pete. And finally, well, there are probably maybe some other thoughts of sources. One final place to look is in the area. There are shops that specialize in working upon and or restoring MGTCs, and they frequently know of cars that are available, or sometimes have cars that have been restored, repaired as a speculation, and have cars even available. Mike Goodman is a member of our club who has been working on MGTCs and MGs of all sorts, and restoring same for many years, and certainly is an example of what I'm speaking of. Now, when you have located a car, then before you purchase same, it would be very wise for you to have the car thoroughly checked over. And again, a shop where they are very familiar with the car is the proper place to do this. And again, we're going to have Mike Goodman kind of go through a little checklist that he would do for you, or would advise that you have done by somebody, again, very knowledgeable in cars. When you present your car to this person, I think you have to be able to tell them what it is you want to do with the car, because a car that you intend to have impeccably restored for show purposes versus a car that you want to just have put into presentable and good mechanical condition for your enjoyment on tours and driving events, might be an entirely different car. So you have to decide what it is you want from your car and take it to Mike or someone like him, and he can examine it then with that in mind. Without further ado, I'll let Mike explain what he does when helping someone in this way.
When you're looking to purchase a TC, it's very important to have a qualified person check the car out. I made a little quickie checklist. The first thing you want to look at is the body condition. These cars are a wood-based car, so you want to start probing at the wood and make sure the wood is good and solid. The two main beams underneath the running boards, if you just take an ice pick and go into those beams, if they're good and solid, the ice pick will not go into these. If it goes in like butter, you got some bad wood there. The body panels, you want to check for how much Bondo's in it or body cancer. This is a simple little magnet. This piece of metal has Bondo on one side and the other side is just plain. You can watch, see how well that sticks? Over here, it barely, there it is right there. There it is. This goes this way. That's barely sticking. This is full of Bondo and this pulls very well. You do not need a tool like this, just any magnet. You want to look at the chassis condition. You want to make sure that the chassis is square. You want to look for any signs of frame repair. And then the next thing I've got is originality. You want to make sure the car has all the proper lights, proper tail lights, D lights, direction lights, etc. You want to make sure the two front fenders match each other. There is different models, different years, and they have different fenders on. All these are signs that something's been played with. You want to make sure the car has a proper TC block in it, not a TD block. You'd like to have the proper air cleaner and the dashboard. You want to make sure it has all the proper gauges, proper center panel. A lot of them have TD panels put in. The next is the cosmetic condition of the car. Is the paint good, or is it just a quickie paint job? When they do a quickie paint job, they usually paint all the fender beading. If the fender beading is just pure vinyl, the car would probably dismantle to paint the car. You want to check the interior condition. You want to look at the top, the tonneau, the curtains. Is the top canvas or is it vinyl? The cars came with all canvas. The mechanical condition of the car, you want to check the engine by checking the compression. The oil pressure should be a minimum of 30 psi at idle and a minimum of 50 psi running. You want to check the water pump, grab the fan and wiggle it. If the fan wiggles, you've got bad bearings or a bad water pump. You want to look at the distributor and see if the cam wobbles or is it loose, has a loose body. The electrical, you want to look at the wiring harness. Is it a cloth harness or a vinyl harness? There's 5 pieces of metal conduit on these cars, on the wiring. Is that conduit on there? What is the condition of the harness? The next thing are the hubs and the axles. You jack the car up and look at the rear hubs. Grab the wheel and wobble the wheel like this. If the wheel moves in and out, you've either got a loose bearing or a loose axle or a loose hub. You do the same thing on the front. If the front wiggles, you're going to either have loose bearings or loose kingpins. You want to see if there's any oil leaking from the rear hubs. You want to check the front axle for condition to make sure that it does not show anything being bent. You want to look at the rear end housing. The spring perches on these have a habit of cracking. And the most important thing is the price in your budget. And good luck.
Do it.
Okay, now, having had your prospective car purchase checked, then Mike can tell you that everything's wonderful, you have found a perfect candidate and, that you should purchase this car right away. Or having discovered some deficiencies in these areas, discuss again with you what you intend to use the car for and what it would cost to correct deficiencies. For instance, if you wish to make a car that you could show in judging car contests, judge car contests. And all this then, as Mike said, comes down to the price that you pay for the car. In making this series of information topics for you, we hope this will be something that will be available into the next generation. So what price we would mention today would not necessarily be applicable. So we probably won't get into that. That's something you could discuss with someone knowledgeable, such as Mike, or someone who deals daily in this like he does. Mike has mentioned a number of things, which, depending on how familiar you have been in the past with cars and restoration, terms which may not be familiar to you, but as we go on through this series, hopefully we can, you'll hear mention again of some of these things and you'll have an understanding. I think probably that's all that we have to say on the subject of purchasing your car.
Actually, there is one more thing. You need a support crew, and if you turn the camera around, you gotta keep your wife happy. So you need to know where your nearest flower shop is or jewelry store. And and once you get into a club, you have a wonderful support crew, so.